the video, and we are rolling on April, help me out, 10th, on a beautiful day in Los Angeles. The sunshine is shining. Eat your heart out, Northeast. And we're about to hear a respect speech from Joanna.
I'm Joanna, and
Hi, Joanna.
And I believe that respect is the basic tenet of building a good interaction, a good relationship, and maintaining that. And so respect to me is the due regard of the rights and wishes and traditions of others. And so I conducted a social experiment in which I conveyed respect non-verbally for 48 hours. And I thought that this would be easy because regularly I am a fairly respectful person, but I will run you through the good, the bad, and the ugly as it made me feel good, bad, and ugly. So, the good. For the majority of the experiment, my politeness was reciprocated. My smiles were appreciated, me opening doors was appreciated, I got thank yous, I nodded and nods were reciprocated, and I followed Professor Miller's footsteps. I tried to, if the situation permitted, I tried to talk to employees, I tried to talk to cashiers, to cleaning ladies. I asked them, how are you? I greeted them, I made regular conversation, I treated them like they were not just a robot. They were not just there to serve me, but rather that we were people. And usually, they were taken aback at first. They were surprised, but I genuinely felt like the gesture was definitely appreciated. And then I move on to the bad. Now, I wouldn't say that it was bad necessarily, but rather that my respect gestures were greeted with puzzled looks or glances that were looking away, or that they were just ultimately ignored. And so that made me feel bad because I felt like I was infringing upon their space. But after doing this experiment, I realized that to respect everybody was to respect them ultimately, that they may not have felt like they needed to reciprocate disrespectfulness. And I completely respect that. And then I move on to the ugly. Now, there was this one instance that came to mind in which I attended this Desma via Lux class, and I had to hear this artist talk about the correlation between bread and politics for 30 minutes, and thought this was a perfect opportunity for me to practice my respectfulness. And so I stared intently at him for 30 minutes straight. And I felt like this definitely made him uncomfortable. And this made me feel ugly because I felt like the respect that was coming from me might have felt like it was ingenuine, might have felt like I was being obsequious. And so after the talk, I went up to him and I said, I respect you and your work very much, but I could feel like that when he said thank you very much, he was still uncomfortable and he was being dismissive because I might have come off as ingenuine, that I had overdid my respectfulness towards him. And so there were three things that I learned from this experiment. The first is that respect is not always easy to show. It's very difficult, actually. At times, when I'm not feeling like I want to smile, when I'm not feeling like I want to nod, when I'm not feeling like I don't want to roll my eyes, it's difficult. And the second is that respect is always shown as often as you may think it is. I had gotten that from the surprise reactions of the employees, that they are not often shown this level of respect on a daily basis. And the third, I felt like respect is a two-way interaction. It is the giving, the initiation, the reciprocation, and it benefits both parties. And so, all in all, I stand by what I said. I believe that respect is crucial. I believe that respect is one of the basic tenets of being just a good person overall, common good humanities. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Mm-hmm. All right, let's start over here on the right. Mm-hmm.
Hello everyone, my name is Viviana.
Hi, Viviana.
And one thing that I liked about your speech was one, like you came very prepared, you look professional, you look good, and I think that you walked the room very well, and you stated your three things in the beginning very clearly, so I could follow along
Right, so she gave us a good roadmap, and we were able to follow the roadmap. So she made an agreement with us, and she followed the agreement, which is nice. Yes. Improvement, please.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
I'm Jenny. Overall, I thought you did very well. I also liked how you laid out your speech. And I really liked how you were genuine about how sometimes it's difficult to communicate respect because you might not be feeling it. So I don't really have an improvement because I thought you did great.
Okay, good. Let's start at the very beginning. Well, let me start with a positive comment. I really liked your speech overall. I especially liked your first story of the good, where in particular you talk with the cleaning ladies and people like that don't normally get genuine conversation and don't genuinely get respect, and they appreciate it. They really do. Let me talk about your introduction. It was a definition. And you went back to your definition, and it was okay. I'm not sure it really grabbed me and drew me in and made me want to listen, which is what an intro is supposed to do. Your thesis preview was excellent. The good. Yes, you articulated the nice things that happen very well. Let your hands roll from behind your back. Let them just be natural by your side. On the bad, I warned you that most people aren't having this anymore. They're not looking at others. This is for our benefit, so we get in the habit of remembering to be respectful all the time, even when we're not feeling it, you know? Yeah. I'm not so sure that it's an infringement, but maybe it is if you stare a long time. On the ugly, the artist, if you were giving him the constant stare, like, not looking away, but I respect you, I respect you, I respect you, then that's too much. And it's just more of like, I respect you, take a note, look around, I respect you. And were you looking intently at him the whole time and trying to really overwhelm him with your respectful vibrations? Is that what was happening?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, then that's what probably caused him to bad vibe you back and wasn't really having it because it's not natural. So just look away, so on the what I learned, I liked very much what you talked about. I think, though, it is a two-way street. And I want you to remember that this is as much, you're going to see if you continue to practice this, that you get a thrill out of this as well as the people that get the benefit of you giving them respect, because you feel good for spreading a little love and respect to the world, to the Carl's Jr. robot that's been treated like crap for the last 6 hours, etc. So good job overall. Thank you very much. And no notes, that was fabulous. So good job. Thank you. Okay, do we have another volunteer? looking at you. Thank you. Okay, Brenda, let me adjust something. Nice. Brenda stands in the power position in the center of the room. Managing attention, looking around the room, making sure no one has their phone out or their computer open, making sure all eyeballs are upon you, communicating respect non-verbally. Say to yourself, I respect this audience and really mean it. Find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
So running downstairs, zooming past faces, I am a person of efficiency, and as a student at UCLA, I walk from point A to point B without a second to lose. However, I am a person who shows respect to others, but I soon realized that not all the time do I make others aware of this. So I decided to conduct an experiment in which I would slow down to make others aware of the respect I have for them. This included holding the door for someone or telling my friends to have a good day as they pass by. So first, let me begin with the good of this experiment. It started with, I had a lot of positive encounters. They, naturally, you're supposed to treat others as you would like to be treated. So when I opened the door, people would say, thank you, or when I would smile, they would reply with a smile. So one encounter that I had that was a really good experience was when I was ordering my food. I went up to the cashier, and usually when I go order, I mumble a hi and then just quickly order. But this time I took the time to pause and say an intentional hi with a smile, and then I proceeded to tell them my order. In return, the cashier gave me a smile and more sincere than the one she had given to the previous customer. And she also seemed to straighten up a little bit. Like, it was a good feeling to know that stopping for 5 seconds actually uplifted someone's day. Now proceeding on to the bad, I would say these are the encounters that are sandwiched between the good and the ugly. These encounters would be any that I didn't receive the same response as they did. So it included mumbles or greetings with no enthusiasm whatsoever. However, I didn't receive many bad encounters, so it was a good thing. Now going on to the ugly, I would say only one particular instance falls under this category. This happened while I was going to class. So following my experiment, I was walking slowly, greeting others with a smile, and I had this one particular person. I gave a smile, but they just like plain right past me. I felt appreciated and a bit down since I had really put in the effort to show this person my respect. However, I soon realized that their actions were justifiable since maybe like I was a stranger to them, so it felt awkward, or maybe they were just having a bad day. Nonetheless, this experiment taught me that not all the time will others treat you the way you're expected to be treated, but that doesn't mean we should stop showing others our respect. So in the end, like slowing down really allowed me to show others my respect, and in return, I received the gift of respect back. So next time you're tempted to speed by someone, I suggest that you take the time to pause and really show them your respect, because in the end, it all pays off.
Thank you. Okay, we're here. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I thought you spoke very clearly and you knew your speech very well, which is great. So it was delivered really well, and the content was great, of course.
Yeah. Extemporaneously, which is what we're after. Say it in your own words when you practice it. It'll be different each time, but it'll be great. You'll be able to make great eye contact that way. You won't be looking down to see what you have to say next. Improvement.
I'm Mira.
Hi, Mira.
probably do the same, but maybe you said the word too many times. But other than that, it was awesome.
That's good feedback. Were you aware of that transitional device that you put in as a filler?
Somewhat.
Okay. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, raise your hand each time you say it. And then the next time when you're practicing your next speech with a live person, have them tell them that this is one of your canais. Do we all know what canai stands for, that acronym? It's at the bottom of all your pages. See that word canai? The word canai at the bottom of your page? Yeah, canai, good. That stands for constant and never-ending improvement, or goal setting, which is how we work. So set a goal that I will not use or like. I have a debater. He's driving me crazy. He says like almost maybe 100 times during a 7-minute speech. He sounds like a valley girl, you know, and it's annoying. It's really, really noticeable too. So he's got to change, and it's just can be done. Your change can come when you are made aware of it, and you your self-awareness and someone raising their hand each time you do it will cause you to stop doing it so much until you stop doing it completely. Yeah. All right. Well, Brenda. You delivered your introduction rather quickly. You're a fast talker. And I'd like you to slow down. And you ran through running downstairs, zooming past faces. I'm a person of efficiency at UCLA. I walked from point A to point B without losing a second. You really ran right through that. You were proving to me that you really move, you know? So that was interesting, but I think it would have been more effective if you had spoken it a little slower. And what we're really after in the final analysis is vocal variety. It doesn't have. We're just looking for not the same delivery where certain words are emphasized. You go slower. You pause. Don't be afraid to pause. Silence is a dramatic thing to do. You can sometimes go faster when you have a little quick thing. Then you slow down for something really important, see? But we want vocal variety, see? So look for that. So on your thesis preview, you said you held the door and you told people, you decided to tell people, have a good day as your form of nonverbal respect. A little verbal, but I understand how that sometimes things fall out, as the example I showed in class where you're at a fast food and you're just thinking, I respect you, and words come out like, how you doing today and stuff, so that's fine. The good, the bad, the ugly was there, yes. On the good, you got somebody to not mumble, I guess, and you didn't mumble, and you felt you made somebody's day. And that was positive, and that was good. On the bad, you didn't really have any bad, which is great, except you were kind of ignored, you know, which is to be expected. On the ugly, you smiled and someone didn't smile back. Well, you're sitting down. This is going to happen. And especially in this new age where people are really into their machines and someone's smiling. Let me get back to my phone, you know. But you need to adjust your expectations, and it's okay to smile and say I respect you, and if it's not reciprocated, it's not reciprocated, but you made the effort to be respectful, and that was good. Your conclusion on, you know, what I learned, I thought was positive, and you ended on a good note. So overall, good job. Thank you. Okay. Next. Is this a takeoff on the movie?
Yes?
Yeah, your shirt?
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh,
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
okay. Okay, let me make an adjustment. Mira, you're a little different height. How do I do this? I guess I go like that. Ooh. There we go. I'm gonna go like this. Okay. Mira is in the power stance in the center of the room. She's looking around the room, managing attention, making sure everybody is looking up and all eyeballs are upon her. She's communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Mira.
Hi, Mira.
Hi. Well, I'm generally a shy person, so it takes me that extra effort to go to someone and say, I really like that hat you're wearing, or whatever I was thinking in my head. So often I wonder, how much is it really worth it to put in that effort to say something out loud? Do we really need to say it? And how much of a difference does it make? Well, I thought to answer these questions with a little experiment. What I did was for 2 days, I went around treating people with nonverbal respect, which means that I used facial features and hand movements and kind words to display that I was respectful of someone without actually saying the words, I respect you. My hypothesis was that people would generally reciprocate and read the motions that I was doing to them. Sometimes maybe they might not get it, but I still think, and I still really believe, that these extra motions impact the conversation and add a connotation to words you're saying. So over the 2 days, I had 3 interesting experiences. One good, one bad, and one ugly. So for my good experience, I was walking back to my room and I saw the cleaning lady trying to struggle to get out the door with her cart. So what I did was I rushed to the door and I kept it open. And I just looked at her and I smiled and nodded. I didn't even have to say anything. And her face immediately brightened up. And to me, she said, "Thank you so much." I didn't even have to say anything, but she replied so graciously and happily. And in response, I said, "You're welcome, have a nice day," something I normally wouldn't have said. So it's kind of like a chain reaction. And this made me really happy to realize it's something I hadn't really paid attention to before. On the other hand, later that day, I met with a project lead because I'm going to be a co-project lead for a new club I joined. And I really wanted to prove to him that I was smart and capable of the tasks he was going to assign me. So when he was explaining the directions to me, I made sure to nod use my eyebrows, smile, face him, and ask interesting questions. But he seemed to be a very dry and unempathetic person. So I don't think he realized that I was trying to show him respect. Instead, he kind of shot down all my ideas. So in that case, his definition of respect may be a little different, in that he wanted me to be serious and upcoming and confident with my ideas. But I didn't let that get to me. Now I know how to act around him, so he takes me seriously. And then the next day, I had an ugly experience. My roommates and I went to meet our landlord to sign a lease for an apartment we're gonna live in. But one of my roommates didn't want to give her SSN. So this landlord was this really big guy, almost 6'2", like 2 inches from the ceiling. He looked at us and he said, "No exceptions for you guys. If you guys don't want to give your forms, then I can just give this apartment to someone else." And my roommate started crying. We were so scared of this guy. But I made sure to look at him and smile and act graciously and show him through my eyes and my emotions that I respect his rules and all we want to do is stay safe while following his directions. Unfortunately, he was either in a bad mood or something, but he kept yelling at us. And in instances like those, I guess we have to realize that not everyone is having the best day or something, and we can't let that get to us. So we just left, talked to our parents, and went back yesterday. So in all, I learned that sometimes people don't want to reciprocate, sometimes they don't see, they can't tell what you're trying to do, or they have a different definition of respect. Maybe it varies from culture to culture because all 3 people I met were of different ethnicities. And what's also really interesting is that my friends who are really used to my mannerisms didn't notice anything different because I guess I smile a lot from a day-to-day basis. But essentially, this experiment led me to take note of how people respond to my interactions. And from my good experience, I did realize that there is a sort of domino effect where treating someone nice and paying it forward helps them pay even more forward. So I'm glad I did this experiment, and I do think it's definitely worth it to take that extra effort to tell someone that they look nice or to have a good day. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Spencer.
Hi,
Spencer.
Spencer.
Something I liked that you did was when you were discussing like the times you face people, you mimic their gestures that they did to you, so it's easier to visualize.
Oh, yeah, that's good, yeah. So she did a little imitation.
Yeah.
A little acting. Yeah, good. Thank you, Spencer, for noticing that. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Something I liked about your speech was I think I really related to your introduction, and I think you also clearly defined your section really well.
Improvement?
Improvement, maybe speak a little bit louder, but that's fine.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's good. Good point. Well, okay. Hopefully you'll stand still while I give you your feedback. Meta, right?
Mira.
Mira, where's the R? Oh, that's an R? Okay, Mira. Okay, Mira. Mira, I liked your presentation. You're a very likable speaker. So I can see that you would have no problem getting on in the world and coming off as likable, respectable, respectful toward people without much effort. So that's good. You told us you're shy, and that sometimes you think, why bother? Just blow it off and let it go. But I'm glad you tried to do this, even though some of it was verbal, but that's fine. But some of it was also nonverbal, which was I'm more interested in. Of you saying and repeating the mantra, I respect you a lot, yeah. And some of the verbal will come out of that, yeah. You said you used hand gestures, facial movement, and so forth. So then your thesis, yeah? You said that there was the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good was very good. You're a cleaning lady. You saw that she was struggling with the door, and you held it open for her. And she said, thank you so much, which is one of the phrases that I'd ask you to adopt instead of just a thank you, but thank you so much, to emphasize you really mean it. And I was glad to hear that she said that, and she really appreciated you holding the door. On the bad, I don't know about this interaction with the club leader or what it was. I don't know if you were trying too hard or just weren't in sync with the fellow or didn't do your audience analysis or knew what he expected before you went in there and had you were kind of cross purposes. I just don't know. But I think that these situations, when you have, if you can have a respectful attitude, it doesn't hurt, as you're making your points. And I don't see how it could go that wrong if you have a respectful attitude. So, on your third story, the ugly, your roommate said, I'm not giving you my social security number. Okay, why not? Or,
her dad didn't want to.
I see, her dad said no. Okay, so she's going to be living at home this next year, huh?
Well, she finally gave it.
Yeah. Okay. I know it's really tricky, and it's like a really private number, and it gets out in the world, and you're screwed. And I understand people's caution about it. And you told a pretty good story about her crying and stuff like that. When you tell a story like this, I just want to say this to everybody. Make sure you don't leave your audience hanging. You left us with, we didn't know how it came out. We didn't know if you got the apartment, or if she gave the number, or if you're going to be living on the street next year, see? So, did you get the apartment?
Yeah, we signed the lease yesterday.
Oh. Very good, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what I learned, you said your roommates didn't notice much of a change in you, and that's what I said. I think you seem to come off pretty respectful and friendly anyway, just in your regular demeanor. I'm not sure how much you were saying the mantra all the time, but I get the feeling you're a fairly respectful person to start with, so maybe there wasn't much to notice, but I hope you'll continue trying the experiment. Anyway, good job. Thank you. Okay, next. Come on down. We're good. Hi, how you doing?
Very well, how are you?
Good. Very good. Okay. Let's wait for these rude people in the hall to go down the steps. There they go. Okay. Let me get you focused, Alex. Here you go. And stay in the green box and don't come any further forward. And you can walk out of the box left and right, but that's right in the center is good. Yeah. Okay, Alex is in the power stance nicely. He's looking around the room, managing attention, making sure no one is on their phone or on their computer or other ways being distracted. He's communicating respect non-verbally. He's saying to himself, I really respect my audience. He's finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Well, initially I thought that the experiment seemed kind of odd and a little uncomfortable. When we started the in-class experiment with the nonverbal and verbal activities with our study buddy, I found it's a little forced, and I definitely felt a little uncomfortable doing it, which made me wonder how the experiment was going to go. But over the course of the experiment, I have to say over the 48 hours, it definitely became more natural, and I realized that it steadily improved my mood and brightened my experience, because I saw that the respect that I was giving off was well reciprocated and well accepted by everyone that I was speaking to. So in order to help the chronology of my speech, I'd like to start off with the bad. And so for me, it started off bad, because when I left the room on the first day, I started trying to convey respect to people as I passed them on my way to my next class, through nodding and saying the mantra in my head, I respect you, and smiling at people. And as a lot of people have mentioned, I realized that I was frequently ignored, or I even failed to make eye contact. And this I could understand, because I'm frequently one of those people that walks to class with my earbuds in my ears, and I'm sort of in my own zone as I walk. And this made it so that I could kind of see where people were coming from, but it did hurt a little to think that the respect that I was trying to give off wasn't received or wasn't reciprocated even by the people I was speaking to. And even in one instance in particular, I just remember I was walking outside Royce Hall, and I made eye contact with someone and I smiled at them, and they just seemed confused, and they had their earbuds in, and I knew they were thinking, why is he smiling at me? Is he trying to talk to me? And he sort of quickened his pace and kind of wanted to get rid of the, end the interaction. And it was something I could understand, but I did feel bad. It made me think that this experiment was weird, and I was only about an hour into the experiment, and I was already thinking it was kind of almost pointless. But things got better from there. Luckily, things never got ugly. The worst it got was a little awkward, but that's to be expected, as I mentioned. But now, to move on to the good, things definitely got a lot better after that. So on the second day, I woke up and I went to work. I work at Rendezvous, and when I walked into work, I tried to do the respect thing that we've been talking about. I was saying the mantra in my head to the customers and my coworkers, and I found that it really helped making the work experience much more enjoyable, and it made my shift go a lot quicker, because I made new friendships with my coworkers. I was able to interact with them better. The customers who I was conveying respect to conveyed respect back to me, and I heard a lot of thank you very much when I served them their food, which is what we've been talking about in class. And that's something that made me feel a lot better, and I realized that this respect thing is something that I do naturally. It was just that when I was in my head thinking about it so much that it was difficult. And so things got better after that, because over the course of the day, I was much more natural with it, and it seemed like the respect that I was giving off was well reciprocated and well received. And then on the last morning of the experiment as well, I'm in a marine training program, and so I was up at 5 in the morning, and often people are understandably grumpy or a little on edge at 5 in the morning. But I found that when I put in the effort to convey respect to the people that, my leaders and my peers, it was well received and well reciprocated, and it made the whole morning like workout and experience much more enjoyable and lighthearted, which made me feel better and more motivated for the rest of the day. So in conclusion, what I learned from this experiment was that it was definitely useful to like keep it in the back of my head that I should always be conveying respect in this sort of silent, nonverbal manner, because I realized that the respect that I was giving off would inspire other people to do the same and give respect to other people and to me. And I think that when other people would come to Ronde and get their food, I think in the future they would also say thank you very much and try to show respect to the people serving it for them, because it definitely, I could tell that it made both of us feel better. So I felt that I was making the community a more like respectful environment because I was giving off respect and I was inspiring others to give off respect in the same way. So that's what I learned from the experiment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. By the way, do me a favor, if I zone out and right, and don't move the camera, tell me.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
I think you told a really good narrative. I thought that when you spoke, it was very natural and it was really easy to follow. And I could definitely relate to you because I also work in customer service. And I felt that when I was also doing the experiment, it was like more natural when I was doing it too.
Okay, thank you. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
So I really enjoyed your speech. I liked how you really talked in your like natural voice, so it didn't really sound very scripted. So it was like I thought that it flowed really well. I honestly don't think there's really nothing that you can really improve on, but maybe possibly like having a more like a more firm like stance, because you were swaying a bit, even though you were in one position. So maybe that you can improve on. But honestly, I thought that it was really well done.
Okay, great. That's a good point. We can start with that, Alex. If you go and when you move and you get to the new position, if you get in the power stance and sort of lock your legs in the tripod, it will keep you from swaying so much, you know. But your study buddy you practice with in a live context can help you. Let your arms just be natural by your side. Don't put them behind your back. Just let them be the way they are right now. I liked your honesty. It was disarming to start your speech by saying, I thought this whole thing was odd and off-putting, forced and uncomfortable. I like the honesty was refreshing. A lot of people do. This is breaking a normal mode. People don't talk about respect so much at this university, I dare say at all, right? Yeah. So, so I appreciate you being honest about how you felt, and also being honest and saying the more you practice it, it became less of a chore and sort of beneficial and useful. So appreciate that. It's helpful for the narrative's sake. You changed the narrative around, which was perfectly fine. You started with the bad. To give a full preview of, I'm going to do the bad, the ugly, the good. It doesn't matter the order, but just give us a roadmap of what you are going to do completely, so we know what's coming. Yeah. So you started with the bad, and you noticed right away, I don't know how you were doing it, if you were staring too long or pushing it a little bit, but in any case, it didn't go well right off the bat, going down Bruin Walk or walking around here. You just weren't getting any great gratification from it. And you were getting blank stares. One guy, even at Royce Hall, thought you were weird and hurried up away from you. And so you thought, well, what am I getting out of this? So that was another good, honest point. I prefer you don't print on the back of pages. Just print on one side, please.
About saving the trees.
Yeah, well, don't save them on my behalf. The ugly, yes. I'm glad that you didn't have anything ugly. Okay. The good, yes. Uh-huh. Yes, people that work in your type of job, you talked about the rendezvous, really report that this really kicks in and makes a big difference. And the time does fly, and it makes the shift go quicker and all those things. And I like the Marine story, the Marine training program, because that can be, as I have to tell you, very tense at times, and somebody that has genuine respect for the activity and their peers will be trusted and be a positive element of the unit, and that's good, yeah. Like, as I said before, to have you with your voice make the narrative be a little louder. So what did I learn? Something like that. Well, a couple of things like that, and then you go into it. So you talked about the fact that this could be useful. And what I'd say is, don't just plan it in the back of your head for occasionally doing it. I would hope you would continue to try to make it a habit, so it's not just in the back of your head to occasionally drag out, but to make it a daily habit so that it's with you always. Anyway, thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, next. Thank you. Took the long way, huh?
Yeah.
Great. Well, you printed on the back too. Sure. Saving those trees, huh?
Yeah, it's just automatic, kind of.
Okay, well, unautomatic. Okay, here we go. Spencer is in the power position. Could you take a step forward, please? Yeah. Just half step back. Yeah, that's right in the center of the. See the box you're in? Look down at the green box you're standing in. Okay. Now I've got to adjust this guy to get your head in. Okay. Spencer is in the power stance. He's in the center of the room. He's managing attention. He looks around the room, making sure that everyone is looking up. You find friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, and start your speech.
Hi, my name is Spencer Weissman, and
Hi, Spencer.
And for this experiment, I did it a little differently than most people. I did this not on Bruin Walk like a lot of people, not at work like a lot of people. Where I predominantly did this experiment was within this organization I joined called Mentorship, where we work with kids from North Hollywood who come out to UCLA, and we sort of do small activities with them, and it's a really unique program. My kid that I personally work with is very special because he is the only kid in the entire program with disabilities. So when I was first told about him, I was really encouraged to know that they trusted me, one of the younger people in the organization, to take on a child like him. So with that comes a lot of different things when it comes to respect. And that's where the good will come in on my story, while also the bad. So I'll start off with the good. My child's name is Miguel, and Miguel tends to do different things than most kids. He'll try to call out, he'll run up and interrupt the activity. He doesn't have a lot of the social awareness skills that most other kids have. And a lot of the mentors don't know that he has a problem, and they don't really understand why I can't control him. So they'll look at me and shun me and say, think to themselves, why is he so bad? So what I did this special time was I just projected "I respect you" onto Miguel the entire time. And it was something I had never done before because a lot of time I was just always concerned for his well-being. But this time, by doing that, he became more attentive to me. He was more willing to listen to me and not going to pick up that stick this time. He wasn't going to call out this time, but rather he listened to all the directions from the directors. He was willing to engage in sharing with the other kids when he had a snack. It was different things like that that made me think, wow, just being this small bit of respectful to Miguel really made a difference and led to the program running a lot smoother. Obviously came the bad, and with the bad with Miguel this time was something different than normal. It's a lot of times he'll run around and stuff like that, which is great because he really enjoys to play tag. So as I stepped away for a moment and started talking to another member as I was projecting respect onto her, Miguel kind of got loose and he picked up sticks and he started throwing it. And at that moment, just because for 1 second I had lost eye-to-eye contact with him and portraying that respect, he began to do things that are frowned upon in the organization. And that's when I got the shuns looked onto me and the people judging me. But just because of that, it didn't make me question what I had done. It only further showed that if I'm able to portray respect onto him and show him what the right actions are, I knew he was going to replicate it. So I think that's what I really took out of this experiment is by doing it to even people who are really young and don't know what's going on, they're able to understand how important respect is. So obviously there was some ugly, and the ugly came when I was outside of mentorship. And obviously this experiment was for a full 48 hours, and it was going on for different times. So for me, the ugly came when I was sitting in class, and I was trying to do the exercise onto the person next to me, and she turned around and made eye contact, and it was very awkward and uncomfortable. After that, I started thinking to myself, does it really make sense to do this in class? Will people just look at me weird ways? And immediately after the class ended, I didn't wait around to apologize or anything. I just felt so uncomfortable and uneasy. I sprinted out of the class and just got to the next place I needed to be. So that's where the ugly came in. Obviously, that's a very common ugly, I feel like, for a lot of people in this room, as a lot of people face that uneasiness when someone does make eye contact and looks at you weird and you don't know how to respond because you don't want to break the experiment because then you taint the results. So what I really want to hone in on for what I've learned from this is that doing respect really shows, even if you don't realize it, the people around you notice. I think Miguel and the other people in mentorship didn't know I was respecting them. I was portraying it, I was pushing it onto them. But they subtly pushed it back to me because I felt the sense of them doing it back. And they started to understand what I was going through and the different things that I have to go through rather than them when it comes to mentorship. So how I want to tie this all together is, what I want to leave people with is you have to understand that respect doesn't just work to the people your own age or the people that are older. I think if you respect everyone that you come across, even if they're in 5th grade, if they're in 1st grade, if you do it to them, they're going to do it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Spencer. Here, right?
I'm Joanna.
Hi, Joanna.
I really like that your speech was set in a different circumstance than most of our other speeches, and your delivery was great. There was a great variety. You paused, you enunciated words differently, and you were louder in parts, and so I could follow along really easily. And I really like your speech overall. I love the content.
Okay. Thank you, Joanna. Improvement.
Hi, my name is Chang.
Hi, Chung.
Hello. I really like a good story. It provided kind of like a central figure that could imagine. You probably didn't need your nose because you're even looking at them at all, and you're really confident. So maybe if you do it without your nose, you could kind of like gesture a little bit more and make your presentation even more effective.
Okay. Yeah. Spencer. Well, I like the uniqueness of how you use the experiment, so thank you for that, for taking it into a new context. First off, I like the presentation to be given to me in an outline form, not paragraphs, so you know what that means, right? So next time do in outline, not paragraph. And you'll find that that helps you remember it better, and you won't have to use notes. Notes hurt your credibility because it looks like you don't have a memory. And if you have to glance down, then you lose eye contact with your audience. So if you want my help with your memory, come and see me during office hours. I can make some suggestions right now. If you go through the speech about 6 times and you do what I call a meta rehearsal, where you say, first I'll have an introduction, then I'll have a thesis preview where I'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and then I'll have the good, which will be with Spencer, with my peer, with my charge in North Hollywood, then I'll talk about the bad, and I'll talk about the ugly, and then I'll, without saying every exact last word, then I'll have a summary of what I learned, and then I'll tie back to my beginning, and then say it backwards, so you have many ways you have it stored in your mind, see? And then finally, after you can rehearse the speech and say the parts, and know the parts, each part, see? Then say the whole thing, and you won't need a note card, and your credibility shoots way up, okay? So I can see you without a card, okay? Now, really liked what you did with Miguel. I gotta tell you, this is not the first time that I've heard of, I use this word very carefully, but incorrigible type children being calmed by a respectful presence from an adult. Sometimes it's just a respectful gaze, a respectful mantra, that kind of thing. And it does work. I've heard about this working and happening before, so I was happy to hear someone else trying it and seeing that it works again, because these children are very sensitive and they sense how the adults are reacting to them. And if you're reacting to them with a God damn it, sit the hell down, with a stick kind of approach, they're going to react in kind too. So I like your first story of how you got him to sort of listen and do the, follow up in the lessons. The second story, I don't know, sometimes, when it gets out of control, you have to just, be careful. And then I want to talk about your third story, because I found it most interesting. As I understand it, you were in, I'm going to make this up now just for class, like you were in an econ class, right? And you walked in and you sat down next to some random girl who had her computer opened, right? And you sort of looked at her computer screen or looked over at her and gave her a long look, I respect you, or a short look, I respect you, or what did you do? What was your behavior toward the girl with the computer open?
Like it'd be like
be honest.
Glancing, like following lecture and like trying to keep on, and then like when like lecture.
Glancing a lot.
Yeah, not really. It was like it just like kind of like lined up at the wrong time. And
a few times. You glanced at her a few times. Glanced over at her a few times during the lecture.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so she became uncomfortable at your glances. You felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, I think this is a good. I'm glad. Thank you for being honest about this. One of the things that I've said about this nonverbal doing the practice is, it's not staring at somebody a long time. Like we had somebody stare at a speaker and give them the boogie eyes for 20 minutes. but it's just a look. I respect you and look away, and that's it. But and you don't, every 10 seconds, because that grows. That's something else, and that's a little strange. And so maybe you were right in sort of checking out of the situation. But I understand your discomfort, but I applaud your honesty in sharing that with us. That took a lot of courage, I thought, because I could tell you were embarrassed by it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Other than that, I would hope you will continue to practice saying the mantra to everybody you meet. Don't print on the back. Give it to me in an outline form, and we'll all live happily ever after. Thank you. What's our time looking like? Oh, yeah, we have time. Next. Yeah, come on, I see you, sir. Come on down. Hi, how you doing? That's good. Mm-hmm. Jenny, let me get you situated. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Danny stands before us, managing attention, communicating respect, non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech. Oh, hang on a minute. Your sweater doesn't fit right. So roll your sleeves up above your arms, because we do like hand motions to be available to show your hands, because they're important. So sorry to interrupt you. Okay, start again, sir.
Hi everyone, my name is Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Respect. As discussed in class, it could mean many things, and several definitions that we came up with included being attentive, not being rude, and just giving the speaker your full attention. So I underwent an experiment where for 48 hours, I displayed respectful vibes to everybody, focusing primarily on nonverbal respect. So I'll just go over the good, the bad, and the ugly, which occurred during these 48 hours. So to start off, I'll focus on the good. So I went and got dinner with a friend of mine. I was at Fat Sal's, and we had a conversation, and whenever she spoke, I really tried to display that I really respected her. So every time that she spoke, I would just listen attentively, focusing my eyes onto her and nodding, listening fully and engaging with her. And I feel that as a result of that, it was really beneficial for me because I really engaged with what she said, and in return, I was able to respond. And another, I guess, unintended positive consequence was that I noticed that she had begun to do the same for me. So whenever I spoke, she would also engage, nodding, and in the end, we managed to open up more with each other, and we got closer. And I'll just focus on the bad now. So this is a really common thing, or common situation, but ruin walk. So I'm a very shy person, so I just naturally avoid ruin walk. But I decided to step out of my comfort zone and do the experiment. So the most typical part of ruin walk is the flyers. So you can imagine me walking down there and someone just handing me out a flyer. Hi, are you interested in a religious organization on campus? And luckily, the flyering part was positive, because I would just simply say, no thank you, and move on. And it was well received. However, I tried this on the passerbys, and that did not go as well. So I would just stand at the end of Moonwalk, and I would just, try to look at people in the eye, smile. Most of the time, they would just look away, quickly glance at me, look away, and then glance back, and just look on their phone and keep walking. And I felt really awkward and uncomfortable as a result. It was a lot to get me to go on Moonwalk. And here, I'm seeing how people did not respond to my, respectful vibes well. It just caused me more discomfort. And the last part I would like to talk about is the ugly. So everyone knows about the guy on Boone Plaza that asked you, can I ask you a question, right? So I walked down Broome Plaza and I saw him, and I thought, why not? So I looked at him, I smiled, and unfortunately it was inviting. So he walked towards me, and I got in my head, crap, what did I get myself into? So he asked me the typical question, hey, can I ask you a question? And luckily, even though it was very uncomfortable for me, I said, sorry, I have to go, and I walked away. And in the end, I felt very guilty because I felt that I had drawn him in and had given him false hope. But in the end, I did not want to donate money, so I had no choice. So in conclusion, I found out there were a lot of positives and negatives to this type of respect, which was nonverbal, the one that I focused on. But in the end, I felt was really rewarding, especially as you saw in the case of my friend. And I realized the power and impact that it can have on not only others, but myself as well. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Where are we? Here.
Hi, my name is Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
I really liked how you did something you were uncomfortable with. So you went out of your comfort zone and tried this experiment in other areas you wouldn't usually do it. And I also felt like you felt more confident towards the end of your speech. So that was really good.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia. He went out of his comfort zone, yeah, and was honest about it and said, you know, I walked the other way. You know, that was good, yeah. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Connie.
Hi, Patty.
So what I really liked about your speech was like the content of your story, and it was really like relatable, and it was easy to like interact with and understand. And I think things you can improve upon would be like sort of emotions that kind of show that you're nervous. So I think you can like do more with like your confidence in the beginning because it was a really good speech.
Danny. Well, okay. You started with a definition that we used in class of definition by negation, not being rude. Definition by affirmation, being attentive. Full attention to the speaker. We also mentioned sort of a sense of adulation in some sense at times. But I would have, you know, if you're going to go with that, I would have liked to had some, you know, mention of that in the end as kind of a tie back. As a rule, I understand why some people start with definitions because they don't really understand what respect is and they want to clarify it for themselves as well as the audience. But I'm not a real big fan of definitions as intros. They're not a great grabber. Okay, so enough said. On the good. You describe an interpersonal interaction with, it was with a girl or a guy? A girl, yeah. And over dinner, I guess, or food, yeah. And you, instead of, I don't know what you normally do, talk about yourself the whole time or whatever, you were attentive and you listened and were attentive and nodded and didn't butt in and didn't do all the interruptions as many men do when they're in conversation. And she in turn reciprocated and liked it. And you noticed you had a high quality conversation because you were being respectful. And in some ways you felt it brought out the respectful tone in her, right? Yeah, good. What concerned me was the rest of your stories of the bad and the ugly basically said The only worthwhile time I had of doing this experiment was in an interpersonal context in a restaurant. Bruin Walk was a total failure. Bruin Plaza was also a bad scene. And I want to just posit a counter idea for you that walking around, meeting new people, meeting workers when they wait on you, and everywhere else, saying the mantra and repeating it and having a respectful demeanor and giving off respectful vibrations will pay real dividends. And I just want to counter your bad and ugly with that thought, okay? So you said nonverbal can be meaningful if both parties reciprocate. Well, I'm just saying to you, I know what you mean, but I disagree a little bit. I'm saying that it can be good for you if you develop the habit. So you did a good job of practicing it, but continue to say the mantra and see if you can't get some positive result even when you're not in your really negative discomfort zone. Thank you, Danny. Okay, next. Come on down.
So sorry.
Hi, how you doing? That's good. Oh, nicely typed. Very nice. Oh, in an outline and a paragraph. Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. I'll go with the outline. One-sided. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. You're a tall man.
Step back.
Okay. And Kenneth is not in the power stance. Your feet need to be a little wider than your shoulders, kind of like a tripod so you don't sway. He's managing attention. He's looking around the room, making sure everybody's telephone is away. No one's texting or doing something else. Finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Don't cup your hands like that or like this. Just let them be relaxed. Shake them out. Yeah, shake them out. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Kenneth.
Hi, Kenneth.
So over the course of 48 hours, we performed a respectful project. So how I communicated nonverbal respect was through slight nodding, a slight smile, and just being able to open doors because that's the easiest way for anyone to communicate nonverbal respect. So starting with the good, usually I always just end up opening the door for people, letting them go first before me because I'm not going to go like late to class or anything usually. So I take my time and I let others go first in case I see them that they're in a hurry. So I performed nonverbal respect with a friend, performing an open body language, a smile, a slight nod, and while we were walking to class, while I performed this, she in turn really did respond very well, more positive, and we had a longer and more meaningful conversation rather than surface talk. So how I did this was through looking at her more, glancing at her in a way that's not creepy, as well as looking forward so that I would run into other people and I would nod and then give small responses in response to how she would talk to me. So that way I would like ask her more questions and she would talk more in depth. And I think this was very effective because this was how she responded back very positive, very open, and in no way like does she feel like I was being condescending or in any manner like that. So going with the bad, I didn't really have a lot of bad experiences other than like people probably being in a hurry, because usually sometimes I'm also in a hurry. So they would just not look at me or like respond back or acknowledge me. And I wouldn't take any offense in this because I also sometimes do the same. But in instances like this, when I was flyering for my club in Court of Sciences by Young, I would flyer and would say interested in pharmacy for Pre-Pharm Society. A lot of people would say no thank you. I would say have a good day, thank you so much. Or if the people end up collecting my flyer and they would ask me some questions, I would tell them where the location is. Sometimes they wouldn't be interested, and some people did actually hand back the flyer and they were saying, oh, I'm pre-med or something like that. And I didn't respond in any way negative because people all have like different interests and career paths. And I would say that was the only thing that was really bad that happened to me. For the ugly, I didn't have any ugly happen to me either, because I didn't have any bad experiences other than no acknowledgement to me or them being in a hurry, and I didn't take any offense in this, so I think that was overall good. So for
what did I learn?
What I learned, thank you. So what I learned was usually since I do treat other people with kindness and nonverbal respect, having an open body language, as well as smiling, nodding, giving slight eye contact so that they feel like I am giving them attention. I think that little instances like this where you give other people kindness, they in turn will also give other people that same kindness that you showed them, because they, when you have attention given to you, you do feel a little bit more important, you feel more happy, and your demeanor becomes a lot more positive than before if you were saying like have a bad day or something like that. So that's what I learned, and overall I think being able to respect others as what in nonverbal and verbal ways does really change a person in small ways that we probably don't really look at.
Thank you. Okay, we're here. Yes, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saloni.
What's your name?
Saloni.
Saloni?
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi,
Saloni. Wow,
So
that's a
kind of-
unique name.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So kind of what I really liked about your speech was actually your voice. I think it was really clear and really just it was like really soothing. Like I wanted to hear you keep talking.
Thank you.
And I think you enunciated everything really, really well. And I really liked your story about opening like the door for the girl.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Saloni. All right, yes, please. How can he improve?
Hi everyone, I'm Nyla.
Hi, Nyla.
And I think one improvement, you did a great speech, by the way. I like your delivery and like also like what she said about your voice being calming, like it made me want to pay attention. But I think for one improvement maybe, it seemed like you kind of like stopped walking after a little bit. It's like you were kind of saying like input in the room, like you did start off walking, so like that was a good point, but maybe just keeping that consistency.
Good point, yeah. 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 Let me start with that, Kenneth. When we walk, right, it's an effort to sort of work a different part of the room. So when we walk over here, say, go back to the middle of the room. You're not in the middle. That's the middle. Okay.